this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about a video that Rashida Tlaib put out hitting Biden because of she's not happy with his support of Israel. And so she got some flack from fellow Democrats, particularly some in Michigan, because she included some phrases that are seen as genocidal. So, and she tried to say, no, that's not what they're meant to be, but there's some, stuff about no peace in it or stuff like that. So we'll walk through it in the drama, people calling her out and stuff. Also, Steven Crowder has some breaking news about the Nashville shooter. For so long they've been trying to get the manifesto to come out, and so allegedly someone leaked him some pages of it, so he's got like 3 pages of it, and it's all like anti-white sort of rhetoric, so pretty nasty stuff. And this is someone who went to the Covenant School and shot up staff and kids, and the manifesto talks about white privilege and crackers and other kind of stuff like that. And we'll talk about it a bit, but I've got lots of feelings about, I guess, to focus on it. And I understand why people want it released. And, but I feel really iffy and weird about it because I know other people look at these kind of instances and, there's a psychological degree of other people go and commit similar things. So, especially if they live in infamy and they get sort of fame, and seeing so many people obsessed with it is, I don't, not a deterrent, I think. So, we'll talk about that. Also, Donald Trump is pretty upset because Ron DeSantis is getting an endorsement from Kim Reynold, which, by the way, he got a huge endorsement from a lot of people in Florida. So it is interesting because you have a lot of Trump influencers who are saying, oh, it's not a big deal, but Trump has posted quite a few things about it. So I want to talk about those things today. In a bit about the issue one on the ballot in Ohio, and hopefully people will defeat that. I'm not I don't know, terribly optimistic, but hopefully people will do the right thing, but we shall see. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs to stream, it costs to run my website, all that stuff. So if you guys can support in that way, I very much do appreciate it. Please check out different merchandise that I also have available at the store. I got different mugs and different t-shirts and whatnot. So I'll just, pop up a thing or two. Got some pro-life shirts here. Got this cool Frederick Douglass tees. You are not that special. Go ahead and trigger someone in your life. We also have those in mugs and stuff. So there's different stuff, including like the black tea mug as well. So go ahead and check out, some stuff. Pick it up at the website. I do have different books that you guys can check out as well. You can if you go to blacktnews.com, go to the merchandise pages or link, they'll take you to my book website, but you guys can search my name, Christina Albar, on Amazon. This weekend is Motor City Comic Con. So if you are going to be there this weekend, hopefully I will see you there. I will be in the very last row of Artist Alley. Hopefully that will end up being a good thing, but it was okay. Last time I wasn't at the wall, I was across from the wall, but now they have me on the wall. I've never been that far back before. So, pray for favor and sales. So my sister called it the butt crack of the convention in one video, but hey. You know, hopefully it will do well. And so if you're there, you know, come and hit me up and you know, check out my books. And if you can't come, still check out my books. I have two nonfiction books. One of my nonfiction books is of course, God is blatantly against abortion. Um, that's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And the rest of my books are like chapter children's books, young adult, new adult, paranormal romance, historical fiction, fantasy, contemporary fantasy, romance, action, adventure. Got a lot of different stuff. So if you're a reader, again, check me out. Okay. I do have something that I don't know if funny is the right word. I like to start with something that's a bit humorous, but I don't really think it's funny. um, it's supposed to be a joke. So Fetterman has been, you know, posting some things in support of Israel. He posted or him or one of his staffers anyway posted flyers of missing people on his wall, especially as people were tearing them down. He's come out with some strong posts, which I'm sure he probably doesn't write himself. Um, but you know, as far as what he's allowing people to present to the world and his staff or whatever, it's a very strong break from other progressives in the Democrat Party. And I don't know, seems like he wants to fight it, you know, and get reelected, you know. Um, so he's playing it, I guess, smart. So someone came to protest him and mentioned, well, they were coming at him, and then his response was basically, haha, I can't understand you.
That's why I'm here. She's why all of you are here.
But moments later, he's interrupted by a protester.
4,000 plus dead children in Palestine, 9,000 plus dead civilians. Get off the stage. Get off the stage. I don't care. That's not what you represent your constituents. This is not voting for you. Get off the stage.
Then Fetterman says this.
The joke is on you. I had a stroke. I can't fully understand what you're saying.
The man is eventually escorted out by police as he tells the senator to go home. Another protester speaks.
Yeah, so I had it, jokes on you. I had a stroke. I can't understand you. Ha 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 ha. Now Fetterman, he does like to joke, and he's, you know, taken his condition in strides, but the people who signed off on his health, as if he wasn't gonna have issues or anything, you know, which one of his doctors was donors. um, People really tried to play it down in order for him to get elected. He's there, and I don't know what to tell you about that. I don't know. It's just a little weird. And I know it seemed like he meant it as a joke. It's just you guys can tell me what I was supposed to do there. I don't know. um, because it's awkward, man. Because you still had a stroke, but anyway, he's I guess it's refreshing to see some of his stances. So anyway, I want to talk about the Crowder breaking story first. So let me start off by saying I don't know if this is legit or not. There seems to be a bit of a runaround with the police and the mayor's office, etc. And the family lawyers were like, we can't say much about it. The family doesn't want the manifesto released, but they have said they haven't seen what he's sharing, and they haven't seen any manifesto allegedly. So they're not really commenting on it too much. But I don't know. But it kind of seems like maybe there's some chickens with their heads caught off running situation. That doesn't mean that it's not true, but it could be true. Who knows? Um, I I think we at this point, because there's been such a big delay with it, they at least should come out and say if these pages are true. If they're not true, just come out and say, nope, haven't seen them. That's not the manifesto, which some other people have noted that it was supposed to be longer than that. So the fact that there's a couple of um, DW said that they confirmed the authenticity. Did they just do that? Because I did read their report earlier. Maybe they might have did that before I got on the air. You know, I'm following the local news and other things like that. I did see their story. I don't know if it's, let me go to their Twitter really quick and see if they posted anything about it. It'd be easier if I do it on my phone. But regardless, Stephen has a couple of pages, and I'm not terribly surprised at some of the rhetoric that's on there, because you hear crazy stuff, unfortunately, like this all the time. It's just bottled up in a notebook from a crazy person who did a crazy thing. A few hours ago. I don't think they confirmed the authenticity of it yet. I know they wrote a story about it, but I don't see, and I know they're posting about it, and I would assume they would not really want to post much about it unless they had somewhat of a confirmation. But like I'll just pull up the story that they have, since we're now talking about it. But this is what I read earlier. The transgender identifying killer who murdered 6 people at Christian school in Nashville was consumed by leftist radical hatred, targeting whites as privileged, according to 3 pages of the shooter's diary released by podcaster Steven Crowder on Monday. Which, by the way, thank you in the comments on YouTube for live conversation and so on. Kill those kids. Those crackers are going to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks with their daddies, Mustangs, convertibles. The 28-year-old female shooter wrote in a diary entry dated February 3rd. I wish to shoot you, weak bleep with your mop yellow hair. Want to kill all you little crackers, bunch of little, bleep it, with your white privileges, she wrote. 3 photographs of the pages of the shooter's diary obtained by Crowder, who reported that his investigative team independently confirmed the authenticity of the images. Daily Wire sources have also confirmed. Okay, they did write that. Okay. Breaking Nashville school covenant shooter Audrey Hill. Well, they included the tweet, and I can show you guys the tweet in a picture of it. She said, "I hope to have a high death count. Ready to die, haha." She wrote in a diary entry on May 27th. The musings reflect envy for a stable, productive society that is targeted as dominant and privileged by the critical race theory espoused in many public schools. A shooter who Daily Wire is not naming boasted to a friend before the shooting that she had left plenty of evidence behind, making her motives clear. Nashville's police acknowledged this fact after the shooting. After the shooting, Nashville Police Chief John Drake promised Republican Governor Bill Lee that the manifesto would soon be released. The Covenant shooting was a tragedy beyond comprehension, and Tennesseans need clarity. We've been in touch with the Nashville Police Department, and today Chief Drake assured me that documents and information regarding the shooter will be released to the public very soon. But Drake broke that promise. For a better part of the year, Nashville's police department refused to release the manifesto, citing a series of contradictory excuses. A spokeswoman from Lee ignored the Daily Wire's inquiries about Lee's response to the broken promise. Over the course of the year, the Metropolitan Police Department and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations denied open records requests from the Daily Wire, the Tennessee Star, and other outlets, citing that there was an ongoing investigation, even though the shooter was dead. The Star and others sued, and the police department then claimed it could not release the manifesto because it was a subject of litigation, a catch-22, given that the litigation was about its refusal to release the manifesto. A Nashville judge later allowed parents of Covenant attendees to intervene in the open records lawsuit to claim that releasing the manifesto would traumatize their children. even though attorney Rob Harvey, who represents two plaintiffs, said the parents are not crime victims under the law and that their concerns are only speculative since they don't know what's contained in the records. Tennessee law enforcement authorities also claimed they were asked by the FBI not to release the manifesto, even though in another catch-22, the FBI said it is not terrorism, and therefore the FBI had no jurisdiction, which it was obviously terrorism. The writings may raise questions about why the killing of school children, apparently based on their race, was not considered a hate crime by the FBI. The shooter and the children she targeted based on their race were white. The ramblings also call the children, what you used to call cigarettes, and invoke stereotypes of traditional masculine children. A Nashville City Council member, court, well, you call them not rhymes with maggots. Nashville City. I'm trying not to trigger a bunch of different things online. If you're wondering why I'm so like tiptoey right now, a Nashville City Council member, Courtney Johnson, the New York Post, that told the New York Post that she was led to believe that the manifesto was a blueprint on total destruction that would be astronomically dangerous if released. The detailed agenda obtained by Crowder does not include any detail that would be useful to copycats and merely says to take guns, go to the school, and begin shooting. Russ Pulley, a Nashville City Council member and former FBI agent, was dismissive when asked by the Daily Wire on the status of the manifesto earlier this year, saying he trusts the police. A spokesperson for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation told the AP that under state law, legislators could access the records if a committee passes a resolution, but they have not done so. A spokeswoman for Lee told the AP that the governor can also review the records under the state law, but he has declined from doing so until the police provide clarity on them for the public. So, from like earlier sort of talk about it, it seems like maybe there's perhaps more to it out there. And I don't know if there's another book or something like that, but other people are saying that this is confirmed the kind of the way that police and the mayor and the back and forth, etc., which this is being talked about, picked up by local news, mainstream news and stuff too. It seems like this is a legit thing from their reaction, but it's so weird to me that if this is the contents, if there's more to it that's beyond and crazier, I guess I can get it. But if this is like what it is, I don't understand the secrecy behind it. There's been other manifestos that have pointed to, Candace Owens and other folks like that, and have, talked about, purposely wanting to stoke division and easy targets, the gun-free zones and all sorts of different things that have been released by other manifestos. So I didn't understand why this particular one, and that's what a lot of people's questions are, like, why is it particularly this one that you want to hide so bad? And I think a lot of people assume because this one is a trans, activist who did this act of terror, and they thought it was more about politics and what sort of indoctrination that they have that would perhaps, I don't know, make the trans community look bad, or which this person did what they did, it's on them. But the sort of ideology that they have that is toxic, obviously, just beyond what they did, it's really toxic ideology that people have such a firm hatred for white people, the vitriol, the violence that people talk about, whether they act on or not. And people can have that for all kinds of different groups, but it's just crazy. Go on TikTok, like, there's so, especially when I first got on there's so many like super viral videos that was just like explicit hatred for white people, and other stuff would get taken down so easily. I could have stuff taken down so easily. My my account is still really suppressed, but there was a time, time where my stuff was like like reported and almost lost my account. Actually was like banned for like a little bit and I got it back, and it both my accounts. They make it really easy to attack people on the right, but they would have the most wild stuff. So am I surprised to see these comments that of like anti whiteness and white privilege and all that stuff? No, I'm not. But if this is the gist of what it is, and it was too dangerous to have in the people to see, then why is it so acceptable that we promote this sort of hatred in everyday life? Why do we allow it? And I'm not saying that well, if they don't allow hate speech on other groups, why do they allow such vitriol toward white people, the white privilege, all that stuff? Why? Why allow it so much? Even like we talked a lot about stuff going on in the Middle East. So many people have like just boiled it down in the US to oppressed versus oppressor, and the Jews are the white people and the Palestinians are the brown ones. So the Jews must be the bad colonizers, even though, of course, Jews are indigenous to that land. Not saying the Palestinians aren't, but like someone today told me that Hamas isn't a terrorist group; they're decolonizers, and I'm like, they're indigenous to that land. Like them having a country is like the ultimate decolonization story. Like, what are you even talking about? But and people have scolded me for being a brown person, not sticking up for brown people. And I'm like, I'm just not going to lump in with a terrorist organization that literally makes it very clear that they just want to commit more acts of terror. It's not a secret. Like I'm not, giving them a BFF bracelet or something. Like I'm not doing all that just because I'm brown. Like that's crazy. We're not even the same kind of brown. I don't understand how this ideology works other than everybody else has to come together and gang up on the white people. And the sort of toxic attitudes that other races have toward what it's not even like all the time the other races that have the vitriol. It's white people themselves that will be taught to hate themselves, and it's just really crazy. It's really the sort of things that white people would tell me during 2020 was just like maddening, or just in general, like when we talk about politics and other things, it's just really remarkable. So again, I'm not surprised at all at the sort of things that are in the manifesto. Um and I don't know what else could be that they're hiding and haven't shown and haven't revealed. And in general, I would say I I think I understand people's like, well, why'd you release all the other ones, but you don't want to release this one? It's really sketchy. I understand it. I get it. But I don't like the kind of collective obsession that people have had with it, because I don't want another person to be like, they're gonna be like pouring over my manifesto or other stuff like that. So it's news. I'm covering it. I'm talking about it. I'm not, going into too much detail other than the report. I guess I'll show you guys like Steven's tweet if you want to look more into it. That's absolutely fine. I'm not scolding you for it, but it is I just wonder what about the overall psychological effects of such things. So kudos for the big break in the story. I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't just sick stuff. Just really sick stuff. So I haven't watched the show. I started to watch a little clips of about it. He's obviously, I did read his article on Lauder with Crowder about it. Um, I wonder why they picked Stephen. Maybe he explains that. Why they probably can't say too much about the whistleblower because it would obviously compromise who did it. But I wonder why they picked Stephen. I mean, if it's true, it's true, you know. But he's definitely taking some slings and arrows from friendly fire. Like even like Jeremy Boring from the Daily Wire, he gave him kudos for the story. That he's as he started off the story, he like really trashed Stephen. Like Stephen is a is an egomaniac, blah 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 blah, etc. 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 But credit where credit is due. And you know, he could have just retweeted and said nothing. He could have just like, or just said credit where credit is due, which people acknowledged in the comments. But you know, I can't say I've been following Crowder too much, probably since his divorce situation. But I did do, but he had a big falling out, of course, with the Daily Wire after the whole contract situation, which I did a video about Steven's video, Jeremy Boring's video, when Steven was on Timcast. So what other people have said about their contracts. So if you're interested what I thought about that situation, I did take the time to make like, I don't know, maybe about a 45-minute video. So you guys can go back in my archive and watch that. But I did take the time. But I understand why Jeremy said all the stuff that he did. But you know, you could just, you know, not everyone that you like is gonna break stuff. Sometimes it's going to be people who you are at odds with. Sometimes it's going to be people who you don't like. But just because you have beef with somebody doesn't mean that if they say something that it's not true. So you just got to acknowledge if stuff breaks. But I guess that's all I have to really say about it. Our society is deeply sick. Every time we talk, well, there's some kind of mass shooting, we have conversations about guns. And you know, Democrats are very quick to like restrictions, do something. They shout it in all caps on Twitter. And in some cases that, you know, they'll get some kind of restrictions or whatever passed, red flag laws, etc. But the truth is that mental health is really important. This was a disturbed individual. And we knew that before the manifesto came out. They are very mentally disturbed. I mean, all these people, to do what they do, it's pretty mentally disturbing. The case in Maine, someone was, you know, hearing voices and other stuff. Uvalde, that person was so psychotic, you know, and there's all these red flags about their mentality. And I keep mentioning that I don't know how serious we want to be in the United States about solving mental health, because we are a nation that loves our lies. We really love our lies. Like if something is true and we don't like it, we want to shut it out. Like I've mentioned this story before, but there's a Reuters data analyst who ended up getting fired because he was looking at the sort of rhetoric that BLM was saying. And it like they were like, police were literally targeting Black people to kill them and stuff. And he's just like, the data doesn't appear to bear that out. So he, you know, he looked up the data. He looked at, you know, other Black people, like this Black Harvard professor, I think, who had looked at the data, who thought that was going to be the case about police targeting and killing Black people. But then they looked at the data and realized that they were wrong. And so they did the whole experiment over again and fired everybody. It got new people to just make sure that they did it right. And it wasn't the case. So it's a very fascinating but long read. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of it. If you look up a Reuters data analyst fired BLM, I'm sure you'll find a Substack. But it's an interesting read with a lot of great data in it. But people he like shared it in like his like their group chat or something, and people did not like the truth. They couldn't handle it. This is a news organization. And they couldn't handle the truth because they like their narrative too much. So they needed to get rid of the person who was speaking the truth. And so that's an example. But when it comes to like this gender ideology stuff, it's like, that a boy can't become a girl and a girl can't become a boy, or that a boy was actually always a girl, and they just needed to decide that or realize that or whatever in their heart of hearts and whatnot. And they expect everyone to just comply and affirm. And if you don't affirm, they tell you that they're going to unalive themselves. So they put an expectation on that person that it's just kind of expected that you will self-harm. And they put they kind of take away that person's agency to some degree, because they put blame on someone else, so it's just really disgusting what we're doing. We don't value truth. Truth is all relative, is all subjective. So at the end of the day, how are we going to solve a mental health crisis when I think we just want to, it's kind of apparent they want everybody to be sick. So I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not in the least bit surprised. Anyway, moving on. I want to play this video that Rashida Tlaib put out. She came for Biden, and Rashida Tlaib is from Michigan. She's the congresswoman from the 12th district, which is not my district, but she, a lot of people I know in the 12th district are not happy that she represents them. But people I know are mostly Republicans. So, there's a lot of Democrats that aren't too fond of her either. But she's been getting reelected, obviously. So she's one of the members of the squad, and she's been very vocal about the war in Gaza, and she's been very vocal on where she stands. She helped to spread misinformation about the hospital bombing. I don't even know if she took that down, like even when it was like absolutely not true. She went and she to a crowd and she spread that misinformation. So she made this video that's pretty remarkable, and some people ended up speaking out against her. So I wanted to show you guys this video and go from there.
With Israel.
Mr. President, the American people are not with you on this one.
Innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen.
I want to thank President Biden for his unequivocal support.
We will remember in 2024.
So that's the video. And the don't count on us on 2024, maybe folks will stay home. I don't but if it's between Trump or Biden or DeSantis or Biden or who are they gonna vote for? I mean, they could vote for Kennedy, I guess, or third party and whatnot. But elections mostly are come down to candidates. So I don't know if I believe the "don't count us on" in 2024. Though the media is trying to push that narrative, like, oh, Biden is taking this big dip because of this. Maybe they're seeing it a bit now. That doesn't mean that a year from now that people are going to still feel that way. I just wouldn't bet on it. And overall, though, there's more people who ultimately, despite all the, people tearing down posters and other stuff like that, there's still more support in supporting and standing with Israel and condemning Hamas. So I don't really think that's gonna dent him too much, but they don't like the noise, certainly, that's going on from their party. But people noted the "from the river to the sea" line, and are very upset with Rashida Tlaib for putting it in there. And so a lot of people been repeating that at different rallies and stuff, and some people are obviously don't know what it means, and then there's people who are claiming that it's not a call for some kind of genocide. When they say "river to the sea," they're talking about the river Jordan to the Mediterranean. So if Palestine is free all the way, then and people are saying that, in the occupation, what they mean is all of Israel is occupied and they're the colonizer, whatever. What happens to the Jews? And so the phrase, was originally about driving them into the sea. So everybody kind of knows what the phrase means. And Rashida claims that that's not the intention. And I think she knows better. But people have spoken out about her saying this. So she said, "From the river to the sea" is an aspirational call for freedom, human rights, and peaceful coexistence, not death, destruction, or hate. My work and advocacy is always centered in justice and dignity for all people, no matter the faith or ethnicity. So people are calling her lying bigot and saying all kinds of stuff. It's an erasure for the Jewish state from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. It is also a battle cry of Hamas, a savage terrorist group. You echo terrorists. So some people just said LOL. So there's lots of comments, but in the video, I mean, it talked about no peace on stolen land. So if there's no peace on stolen land and you think the whole thing is stolen, what do you do there? Because no matter how you feel about this issue, whether you support Israel or not, they're going to try to exist at the end of the day. So if you're saying no, you can't have a Jewish state and it has to be we have to get rid of Israel, call it Palestine, etc., blah blah blah, dismantle their whole system and whatnot. They're just not gonna be like, okay, sure, but you're gonna, if you want that kind of regime change, it's gonna happen violently. So no one believes this. So anyway, Senator Jeremy Moss said, "This is not how Jews view the phrase 'from the river to the sea.' This is not how Hamas views the phrase 'from the river to the sea.' Hamas uses it as a rallying cry, and they don't simply want to displace Jews in Israel. They want Jews dead." But here's the kicker here. Dana Nessel. So this is my attorney general. A crazy woman. Absolutely crazy woman. She said, "I have supported and defended you countless times, even when you have said the indefensible, because I believed you would be a good person whose heart was in the right place. But this is so hurtful to so many. Please retract this cruel and hateful remark," which she obviously did not. So I'm like, why would you defend the indefensible? It's pretty bold for her to stand up here against Rashida here and call her out. I haven't heard anything yet from like our congressional folks in yet, like the Democrats. That doesn't mean they haven't. Last I checked, haven't heard much. But this was interesting. This was definitely interesting here for her to call her out about that. But again, I'm just like, why defend the indefensible? Like if I know someone who did something that was wrong, I'm not gonna defend them. Period. I'll be like, no, you were wrong. You were wrong. So you know, people are not happy with her video there, her comments. I wonder how that's gonna how things will pan out when she tries to get reelected. I don't know, but she does have, I'm sure, a lot of people who support her. She does take up a lot in Michigan. There are, a lot of there's a big Muslim community in the area that she covers. So I'm sure there's lots of Muslims who may not agree with her, but I'm sure there's plenty that would like to vote for her again. And other lots of progressives, black, white, etc., who will vote for Rashida Tlaib. So I don't know if you can get rid of her or not, to be frank with you. Like, which people have tried before. People have wanted her gone, but she's still there. And I don't know if she'll I don't know if this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back or what. I don't know. I don't know. But there are, I suppose, more conservative, but still vote left leaning, because that's, what a lot of minorities do anyway, who don't like her views on, like, more left wing kind of stuff, like trans stuff and other stuff like that. But they still go out and vote anyway. So no idea how her election will pan out. They did try to censure her. But the Republicans, there was enough Republicans that crossed over to not support censoring her, because he still felt like she had free speech. That was before she put out this video. That was but it was after she claimed the hospital, the Israeli military bombed that hospital and killed 500 people, which apparently Hamas knew like instantly. It was 500. The count was 500. So of course they didn't actually do that. It was a failed rocket or something from the Palestinians that didn't quite make it over. Ended up hitting like a hospital, but not the parking lot of the hospital. And then even after there was enough evidence, including like live footage from Al Jazeera of the rocket failing, and geolocation stuff and surveillance footage, just a whole bunch of stuff that could show that the rocket originated from Gaza. She still went out, and told the crowd about how the Israelis did this, etc. So I wonder if any of them feel a little bit different after her video. But some of them probably wouldn't, and still feel like, hey, it's bad speech. If she's gonna be punished, her electorate, needs to do that. The voters need to do that. And again, I don't know if they will. I don't know if they will. It's funny because, like, in the 12th district, she used to be over the 13th district. And you can get a lot of like really progressive folks like in the area, other stuff. But the Republicans are like like libertarian type Republicans. A lot of, I mean, not all of them, but like the 13th district was like the liberty, free loving, like we might as well be libertarian, but we're Republican kind of people. And so that we don't have 14 districts anymore. We have 13. So 12 covers a lot of the area that was like in the 13th before. So um you got some strong opinions in that area. Certainly. Last thing I want to talk about is there's a big announcement coming out of Iowa that'll be happening, I believe, soon. And Ron DeSantis has, I guess, snagged the endorsement. I say, I guess, because it just hasn't happened yet, but it's pretty. She's going to do a special announcement with him and endorse him formally. But all the confirmed news from his side and her side have, said that this is happening. So it'd be messed up if she got on stage and was like, nah, I'm still neutral. That'd be so embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. Trump, his folks, his influencers have been saying it's not a big deal. And folks laughing about it, like he's still behind in the polls, maybe he'll get like a point and other stuff like that. In the case of like actual Donald Trump, though, I don't understand if he's so far ahead. Why does he care so much about Ron? Like, why spend so much money on him, so much attention with the tweeting and stuff nonstop, not tweeting, but truthing or whatever. Like the day he had his like indictment in Georgia and got his photo taken, he like made several posts about Ron DeSantis. I'm like, he's at the literally DeSantis at the Field of Dreams playing baseball with his kids, and Trump is still like coming for Ron, and it's like, bro, like, is he the big problem, or is the problem with the weaponization of the Justice Department, all that other kind of stuff you're saying, but you're so focused on this man? So and considering how much he has in legal bills, it's like, why are you spending so much energy, time, and money attacking this man? So I would wager that I don't think a lot of stuff with the polling I would just really take with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that Trump isn't ahead. He was the president. He's the comfort food for a lot of people. He's the person that he did a lot of things that a lot of people liked, and they don't want to necessarily try someone new. You have to convince people to try someone new. That's why incumbents have such a easier time winning re-election again and again and again. You have to be a pretty crappy incumbent, or have done something that's pretty egregious or whatever, to not get that re-election. So Trump is not an incumbent. Joe Biden is the president, and so he's actually the actual incumbent, but Trump is kind of like an incumbent too. Excuse me. So for a lot of people, he's still their guy. They feel like he was cheated out of a second term, and they know he can't do it in another 4 years because he'll be way too old. So they're like, this is his last shot, he deserves another one, let's go at it. And if it's not that there's some people who's not open at all to change, but there are people who are going to vote for Trump or assume they're going to vote for Trump, but they can be convinced. And it just will take time for people to trust another candidate, hear their side of the story, to get people to be like, you know what, you're making a lot of sense, let me change my mind. So I do believe that Trump is far ahead in the polls, but no vote has been cast yet. And all the different states have different kind of rules, etc., on how they're going to divvy up the delegates, etc. There's a whole big kind of system at play. Sometimes I see they're like, national polling, Trump's winning the primary. I'm like, there is no national primary. That poll is nonsense. Like, it doesn't matter. But I would wager some of his annoyance is there must be some kind of internal stuff that has them annoyed. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it's just pure, I'm upset about this guy running and he shouldn't, and he's just being particularly petty about it. Sorry about that. Maybe it is all just like, I don't like him, so I'm going to talk trash about him. But he's been doing it for a minute, including before the midterms were over, and which really annoyed a lot of people. It really annoyed me. I'm like, he's trying to win re-election. Like, Republican victory, beating the Democrats is what's most important here. God, you know, like let's get through, you know, the election, and then you guys can go at it. But like, what is this? It's not always just about you, but you know, he couldn't help himself. So here's a couple of tweets, not tweets but truths. If and when Kim Reynolds of Iowa endorses Ron DeSantis, who is absolutely dying in the polls both in Iowa and nationwide, it will be the end of her political career, in that MAGA would never support her again, just as MAGA will never support DeSantis again. Two extremely disloyal people getting together is, however, a very beautiful thing to watch. They can now remain loyal to each other because nobody else wants them. And he wrote another one. That's because people don't like disloyalty. I opened the position for Reynolds, so she became governor in Iowa by moving Terry Bradstad to China as ambassador. I then helped her when she was substantially down and losing to the Democrat candidate, and worked hard to get her elected, including an endorsement at big Trump rallies. Very importantly, I was the sole reason that Iowa remained first in the nation. I was strong on ethanol. DeSantis voted against it, and other things bad for Iowa, like wanting to destroy Social Security and Medicare. Despite all of this, Reynolds remained neutral on endorsements, and she is now America's most unpopular governor. And Ron DeSantis is second. That is what happens when you are disloyal to those that got you there. By the way, Kim Reynolds is, they really like her in Iowa. Kim Reynolds apparently, and this is a statement from the campaign. Kim Reynolds apparently has begun her retirement tour early, as she clearly does not have any ambition for higher office. Earlier this year, she promised her constituents that she would remain neutral in the race, yet she has completely gone back on that promise. Regardless, her endorsement will not make any difference in this race. In a poll conducted about the impact of Reynolds' endorsement, 72% of respondents replied that it would not affect how they vote. And to be fair, she did say that she would remain neutral, and then Trump just crapped on her. He did not like the idea of her staying neutral because he thought that she should have endorsed him. And so I don't know if that was part of the reason why she decided to go ahead and endorse, because like, well, if you're gonna, you know, come at me and try to destroy me because I remain neutral, I might as well not remain neutral. And I'm definitely not going to support you. And I'm curious as to why. Like, I guess I'll go ahead and watch, you know, her reasoning for endorsing DeSantis. I wonder if it's just going to be like a cookie cutter, kind of like, oh, well, he's done this in Florida, he'll do it for America. Just like, you know, important things, but kind of boring. I wonder if she'll have, well, explain her reasoning on why she's not going to be neutral, because this is unusual. I mean, DeSantis isn't the only other non-Trump person in the race. You know, so I think he's the best shot of winning Iowa other than Trump. But so I mean, maybe that's just really down to it, is why she's endorsing him. But I'm looking forward to seeing why she's breaking tradition like that. But Trump can cry me a river with that stuff, because he did not respect her for being neutral. He wanted the special attention. He wanted the special favors and the special adoration and whatnot. And by the way, like, he's you know, made several posts about this, and I'm sure he'll continue to do so, and continue to attack the Republican governor, while, you know, people go to the state to try to campaign and convince the people whatever. She apparently allegedly, it's rumored that she's gonna go ahead and not just endorse DeSantis but campaign for him. Complaining and being so triggered about Kim Reynolds, he shouldn't let it bother him. He shouldn't let it impact him like this. Especially since he's pulling people in Florida. When he was in Florida the other day, which I'm going to play you guys a clip from it. he, not this particular thing I'm mentioning, but he, like, I'm not going to play you a clip of this thing that I'm bringing up, but I will play a clip from that event. He brought up a bunch of different people in Florida that have endorsed him and not DeSantis. Like, he has a big flex. Rick Scott endorsed Trump. I don't know why, I guess. I thought it was really puzzling. But you know, that had to sting. I don't know if it stung or not, but I would assume it stung. But DeSantis didn't cry about it or nothing. I'm not saying that Trump is crying, but he's whining. So if it's not a big deal, just don't treat it like it's a big deal. Because his influencers are trying to make it seem like it's not a big deal, but Trump is definitely making it seem like it's a big deal. President Trump is the undisputed leader of the Republican Party, and that's why he not only leads every single Iowa poll by significant margins, but also beats crooked Joe Biden in the general. Iowans know that President Trump has done for the state, protected their first in the nation status, made E15 ethanol available year-round, provided $28 billion for farmers, slashed the death tax, renegotiated trade deals to boost farm exports by over $60 billion, expanded rural broadband, and much more. One reason that he had to do so much for farmers is because they were getting some repercussions of like tariffs and other stuff. But I got to a back and forth on my Twitter with someone because they mentioned like DeSantis is a Jeb Bush person, and he's worships Paul Ryan, and he attacked Medicare, and so I'm like, okay, well, he's one of the founders of the Freedom Caucus. I mean, Trump supported Paul Ryan, and so I'm just going through different things. I'm like, as far as like the Medicare and Social Security, like, it's not really sustainable where it's at. So I mean, there needs to be some adult conversations about what's going to happen to it. So are you just saying that you don't really want a fiscal conservative? Because I know like Trump's, they're not going to do anything about the military budget, really. So if you want spending to go down, you have to do something with entitlements. So do you want to get spending under some kind of control? Because Trump did repeatedly spend money. He outspent Obama. And I'm not just talking about the year of COVID, like before that. He outspent Obama. And he was planning to spend more. I mean, he pitched that platinum plan in the height of the pandemic. So I don't know if the Republicans would have actually like gone along with it. I think he would have like twisted a lot of arms to try to pass that, but that would have been a huge, bill as well. But he really wanted to do it, and I was never under any kind of illusion that Trump was going to go in and just like tighten the belt, not spend a lot, because the man pees and goes in toilets. So that was not my expectation. I voted for him for other reasons, but that is like something that we need to at least get under control and have conversations about. So Trump continuously like attacking DeSantis over this and people parroting that talking point, you are attacking him from the left. And if you're not a fiscal conservative, or if you're not, a conservative and you just like the guy, that's whatever. But just FYI, it is an attack on the left, and it is like a Democrat attack that Trump keeps parroting. But I guess he'll keep mentioning it. But anyway, those are Trump's comments. Again, I wonder if Kim Reynolds will say something like that really burrows in the heads of people. I think the most sort of impactful point that I heard was from the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Winsome Sears, and she was talking about leadership, and she was talking about how a good leader kind of knows when to pass the torch. And I don't remember everything she said, but it's just really burrowed in my brain for a minute. And I think if people kind of make a claim like that, I think that'll, I don't know, be more impactful than he's good with his kids or whatever they might say. And I don't know. I don't know what you'll say. And I guess we'll talk about it later. Last thing I want to mention before I let you guys go. is that Trump, he's a he does have one ideology that's pretty consistent, and that man is petty, and sometimes it's hilarious. Sometimes it's hilarious, like after he won and he was in Michigan, and he was at a plant or something, and Rick Snyder was there, and he's like, "You can take a picture with me even though you didn't support me." And it was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so petty." But it was funny. It was funny. At least I thought it was funny. I'm sure it was awkward and horrifying for Rick Snyder, and Rick Snyder then he endorsed Joe Biden, and his endorsement was so stupid. I definitely covered it on the show. I think I maybe wrote an article about it too. And it was just the dumbest endorsement, because the reasons in the endorsement didn't make any sense as far as like the policies he tried to lay out, cuz I'm like, these reasons that you're saying you don't want to support Trump, but why would you support Joe? So anyway, I'm sure he just didn't like him. For lots of reasons. I'm sure he just didn't like him. Um, but Trump was talking about COVID, and he was talking about the good job that a lot of governors did, but he was leaving somebody out. Mind you, he was in Florida.
We had a lot of amazing successes. We did a great job in COVID. We never got the credit for the job we did. We let Republican governors keep their states open. Many of them did. Henry McMaster, South Carolina, did a great job. South Dakota did a great job. Tennessee did a great job. A lot of them. They kept them open. No? I will say this. Every Republican governor did much better than the best Democrat governor. It's true. What they did, because some of them kept them open, some of them was not too many, frankly, but some opened up pretty quickly. But the Democrats kept them closed, like it seemed like forever in all instances, and they really did a terrible job. Crooked Joe puts China first, Russia.
So petty, so petty. Of course, Ron DeSantis did well during COVID. I know they're running against each other, but come on. So many people moved to Florida because of him, because of his leadership during COVID. And Trump says, like, oh, well, all the Republicans did better than Democrats. He said that Cuomo did better than DeSantis, not because it's true, but because he's mad at DeSantis and decided to lie about it. So I don't have the tweet thing truth on me, but man, we've talked about it before when it became news. He uplifted Cuomo to make DeSantis look bad, and then he also pretended like Florida basically runs itself, like it's there's sunshine here, anybody could run this state, and Democrats could run this state, blah blah blah, just to downplay good governance of Ron DeSantis, because he doesn't want to. It's not that he just doesn't want to compliment him; he wants to undermine him. But to the Republican states that were opened or opened up fairly quickly, Donald Trump did trash them. In the case of Georgia, he would tweet that they were opening up too fast. He would get behind his podium and talk about, Georgia, and would just rip them, because he didn't want to take the brunt of the media and be accountable for Georgia being open and what kind of spikes they might get, or what kind of news they might get about COVID, and then them point to them and then them point to him. He didn't want to have to take that, so he would throw them under the bus. So you can't have it both ways. Ultimately people could choose what to do, and Kemp was like, well, I'm not going to be a punk and just stop my state from opening up because Trump's going to say mean things to me. So, he opened it up and he just took the brunt of Trump's criticism. But Trump can't pretend like he was so pro freedom when he did criticize people who open up for their, he criticized governors who open up their states. So I can't rewrite history for him. I can't. And I wish, obviously he wants to say good things about himself, and there's a lot of great things that Trump can pitch about himself on the campaign trail, but his lack of accountability on some things that he's did wrong during COVID is I don't know, it's a little alarming. So if that's something that's important to you, I don't know if he's the man for the job there. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it costs to stream, costs to run my website, etc. Oh my gosh, before I let you go, I don't know if anyone is watching is from Ohio, but they have a big vote, and they're going to change, where people are trying to change the constitution of the state to make abortion a right. They did this in Michigan last year, and there was a lot of radical things in it that I sounded alarm about, that other people sounded alarm about, and the pro-abortion side said that we were lying. And some radical stuff happened last week, where they repealed back some of the restrictions on clinics that are meant to make women have to be informed, and to have the clinics be accountable and be safer. We don't want them to do the abortions, but we at least don't want the women to die when they go there. So even different things on reporting, they want it like rolled back. So they are so mad because one Democrat stood in the way of them repealing back the Medicaid, and they wanted taxpayer, funded abortions and stuff with like the Medicaid. They wanted it to cover that. And so the Democrat who stood up to it was like, I don't think she said this on the floor, but she had wrote on a post before that if we have our choice between like taking care of our elderly and paying for elective abortions, I would rather make sure that we fund our elderly. And I don't think that's a crazy pitch, but I also don't want to pay for your elective abortions. And so she also stood up for 24-hour wait periods. And so they have a very slim majority, and she wouldn't budge on that. So they were pissed, and they had ACLU, reproductive freedom group or whatever, that pushed the ballot initiative, Planned Parenthood Advocacy of Michigan, they came together, and some other groups condemned this woman because she doesn't think it's unreasonable for women to wait 24 hours. But one thing that they did say in like another interview, not in the condemnation post, but they said that these laws on the books or whatever are unconstitutional, and they're probably correct, actually, because you can't really have restrictions with what they passed and how they changed our constitution. So parental consent and other things like that, this Medicaid restriction, will probably get tossed in court, especially because we're left-leaning court right now. And the 24-hour wait periods will probably get tossed too. They just, they said that they will look for another means to get rid of it, because I don't think they'll keep their majority after another vote. And maybe they'll try to pass something again in hoping that this lone Democrat will move. But they could easily like strike it down in the courts, because they did change their constitution. And other things they got rid of were restrictions on partial birth abortion. Now there is still a federal ban on it, but why would you do that? Why would you do that? Look at Google partial birth abortion. There's a video with Paul Ryan talking about it where you can find where he describes it pretty graphically. One of the first images I'm sure you'll find is one of live action, but that's when they deliver the baby feet first, and they jab something in the back of the baby's head, and then they suck out the baby's brain, and then it collapses. Why? So when people say we're not against abortion, we're not for abortion up until the time of birth, moment of birth, the baby the baby is in the birth canal, mostly out of it. And instead of saying, oh, well, no, we don't need to do things like that, they'll say like, oh, well, those things rarely happen. And because of, circumstances, blah, blah, blah. The baby is just about out. That's crazy. But the truth is that it will make it so that healthy women can abort healthy, viable babies. I think that's a better way to phrase it than abortion up to the time of birth, because a lot of people just can't wrap their minds around it. But I advise people to put it this way. They want to make it legal for healthy women to abort healthy and even viable babies. Now there's language that says like, up to a certain point it has to be, health of the mother, but health of the mother is so loose that it could, like Dr. Warren Hearn in Colorado, he has done sex selection abortions. And when he was questioned about it, he's like, all abortions include a woman's health. So the question is, should this be a right or should it not be a right? And there's like a heartbeat bill right now on the books, which is being challenged right now. So I think right now, technically, I think 21 weeks is what's going on in Ohio. But this bill is very similar to the Michigan one. So to those of you out there, it is extreme. It is extreme. People are not lying to you, and they will shoot their shot as much as they can and will repeal restrictions that make it, abortions aren't safe because they obviously are intended to kill a baby, but it could also make it harmful for the mother. So there's a bunch of groups that have written stuff about it. I encourage you to find the actual proposal that will have everything on it. A couple of things. Here's a couple things Secular Pro-Life wrote about it. Issue 1 impacts can include eliminating parental rights as a notification and consent, as they've already done in Illinois and California, which, by the way, LCU, ACLU, and Planned Parenthood, it's no secret. Like they don't believe that there should be parental consent. They believe that your minor should be able to, if your minor finds out they're pregnant, boom, they believe they should be able to go to abortion clinic and not even have 24 hours to consider what they're doing or be educated on what is actually happening. They believe they should be able to go right to the clinic, not ever tell a soul about it. And apparently they don't think even that like abortion clinics and stuff should have to report and all kinds of different stuff. I'm really concerned about restrictions on clinics and them volunteering the numbers or being forced to if they don't have to report those numbers, it'll just be a nightmare. Like people need to be educated on this issue, but people on the pro-choice side do not want people to be educated on the issue because they just want it to happen. Eliminating health and safety standards for abortion clinics, eliminating the Down Syndrome Non-Discrimination Act, eliminating 24-hour waiting periods, allowing elective abortion of healthy, viable fetuses under the broad health exceptions that include not just physical health, but emotional, familial, and financial well-being, among other factors, allowing anyone, including abusers, to purchase abortion pills over the counter, no physician oversight required, and requiring abortions to be taxpayer funded. So those are a couple of different things that can happen. So I encourage you to vote no. And I encourage you to tell other people to vote no. And I know it's like late hour, but do what you can. Do what you can. And if it does pass, like the language on it isn't going to, I don't think, click with a lot of people. Though I think according to secular pro-life, they do have to put unborn child on the ballot, so perhaps that will like psychologically be like, nah, I can't support that. But I don't know. I talked to a pastor from Ohio, came and preached, 3 nights for us out of my church, and I asked him about it, and he said that he, from his kind of feel, he thinks that it's probably going to pass. And if that ends up happening, I don't want people to be discouraged. They're playing a really smart game with their euphemisms and like reproductive freedom, etc. Like reproduction's already happened. That's why there's a baby. Like someone's been reproduced. So it doesn't mean that people don't value life. It doesn't mean that people don't know that abortion is wrong. But a lot of people feel like, well, it's really bad, but I think there needs to be some kind of compromise, especially since they keep playing up like, miscarriage stuff that's happened. Like they call miscarriage and abortion, like when you have a D&C after having a miscarriage and other stuff like that. And there's a big difference between, setting someone on a live person on fire and a cremation. So there's a big difference between you clearing out your uterus so you don't die versus you killing a live baby and you're both healthy, but you don't want that baby in you anymore. There's a big difference. And these laws, I'm not saying that every single law across the nation is like perfectly written, but different physicians and stuff, they instead of trying to push the max on abortion as late as possible, as free as possible, they could try to tighten up the law so you don't get so much confusion. And so there's been instances of like malpractice, really, or of people not realizing the laws and whatnot, and people or people should really sue the hospitals as opposed to being upset about the pro-life laws. But they take advantage of everything that they can to try to push abortion. And we really need to be smarter about how we fight this thing. So if there is a setback or something, I don't want you to be all like, oh my gosh, even in Ohio this happened. Like, people, a lot of people who are, I've talked to people who are no longer pro-choice, and they said there's all kinds of reasons why people are no longer pro-choice, but something common that I hear is that they used to be pro-choice, but then they realized basically that people were taking advantage of their goodwill. Like they just thought of it as like, oh, this is something that's super rare or whatever, and then they realize like, no, this is like, it's basically backup birth control. People are doing it electively. People are doing it a lot, and it's and people want it too far into the pregnancy. So I think a lot of people need to kind of have that revelation about how extreme the industry is and what's really their end goal. And that end goal is up to the moment of birth. Those babies are more fetching when they buy the body parts. But and it's a more expensive procedure, obviously. We need to get that point across, and we need to be better about our messaging. And it's hard sometimes because I know we're censored online and other places, but we got to do our best and fight against the radicals. So I hope Ohio has a good day for the pro-life community, and if it ends up being a sad day like it was in Michigan, which in the case of Michigan, we're about to roll back. We had a very, very, very radical Gretchen Whitmer, man, and we would have rolled back to like no exceptions, I think, except life of the mother, I think. And that I think flipped a lot of people out. So I think the circumstances were a bit different, but I knew if they were successful there, they would try to do the same thing in Ohio. So fight the good fight, and if we lose this battle, we're not losing the war. I've often told people about Frederick Douglass and his speech after the Dred Scott decision. And if you got to read that for yourself, and I wrote an article about that afterwards, comparing it. So you can't give up, and you have to do what's right and let the chips fall where they may. That's Ron DeSantis has been saying a lot lately, and I like that. We're gonna do the right thing and accept the consequences of that, and go from there. So, God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.